everyone, I'm Heather with Tropica Exotica, and in today's video, Crystals 101, How Do Crystals Work? I'd like to take you through an explanation of exactly how crystals work. But before we really get into an understanding of how crystals work, we have to step back a second and just look at the concept of energy and of our own energy. So when we look at ourselves and our emotions, we have to look at how they vary from day to day and even sometimes minute to minute. So one of the things that you can look at and consider is, for instance, you wake up on a Monday and you've got a week full of tests or meetings and presentations to give. So you're probably feeling a little stressed out and a little overwhelmed, maybe a little anxious. And then you look at another example where you're on vacation and you've got nothing to do but lay on the beach for 5 days. So you can see how we react differently to the situations that we're experiencing. Another thing you want to think about as far as emotions and energy is our environment. So if you look at your own home, and sometimes maybe you've got a bunch of clutter, maybe you've got a bunch of knickknacks, a bunch of toys, a bunch of laundry scattered about, you understand that that might make you a little bit overwhelmed or anxious or even feeling tired. And then another external environment situation you may encounter is being in traffic. So, you're stuck in traffic, you're, feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and then, even being at a busy airport. And then another thing you want to look at is one of the more obvious ones, which is diet and exercise. We all know how we feel wonderful and amazing when we take care of ourselves, we eat right, we exercise, as opposed to, going out and eating stuff we really know we shouldn't be eating, and just, overall feeling lethargic and unenergetic when we do that. And then another thing you want to think about is what we focus our attention on. So that could be anything from social media to movies to books, video games, anything like that. So once you become more aware of when you focus your attention in that direction, how do those things make you feel internally? So again, it's just being more conscientious of how you're reacting and feeling around in your environment and those things that you pay attention to. And then the other thing that you want to think about are things that we don't have any control over whatsoever, and those are the planetary alignments. The full moons, for example. I've noticed that I have become very sensitive to the full moons. Whenever it's a full moon, I am completely awake or else I'm completely tired. So it just kind of depends, but I know that I become more sensitive to that. And so you're probably asking at this time, okay, what does this have to do at all with crystals? So the point I want to make is that when it comes to crystals, you have to understand that when you become more aware of your own energy and your own reaction to different situations in your environment and your own emotional response, then you'll have a better understanding of whether or not those crystals are impacting you and how they are impacting you, as opposed to your own emotions or an external situation. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So when it comes to crystals themselves, what you have to understand is, as we are energetic beings, crystals are also energetic beings, and they have a certain frequency. And the difference between the crystals and our energy is that our energy is highly varied, like I said before, from day to day and even to minute, whereas a crystal emits a steady state energy. And so as we become in contact with that crystal, then we can start resonating with its energy. And so that kind of depends on the individual, but as a general rule, the rule is about 3 feet is when we'll be in the energetic field of the crystal. So one thing that you have to consider, though, also along those lines, are when it comes to crystals, some people are just more sensitive to energy than others. And so there's going to be some people that they can even just, go and touch a crystal and they can feel the energy coming off of it, as opposed to another person who may not notice it as much. And then the other big thing that you have to consider when it comes to crystals are belief systems. So belief systems are extremely, extremely, extremely important. And what you have to understand is we are creator beings. So we create with our thoughts, our words, our actions, and our feelings. And so if your belief system is, those crystals aren't impacting me at all whatsoever, even though that crystal may be emitting a certain frequency, if your belief system is such that that's not impacting you, that could very well be the case, because you're a creator being, you create your own reality. So that's something that you also want to consider when it comes to crystals. And then the other thing that you really have to take into account when it comes to crystals are the fact that they're beautiful. And so just by being around them, just by looking at them and observing them, you're probably going to have an effect, because you can appreciate their beauty, and that's going to bring you joy and happiness. So that's another thing that you want to consider when it comes to crystals. So I will go into a little bit deeper explanation as we go through our journey into crystals, but that's kind of an overview on how they work. And so I thought I would go ahead and provide a few examples of my own personal experiences with crystals so that you can have a better understanding. And the first crystal I would like to talk about is red jasper. So what happened was, I was at a crystal class, a local crystal class at a metaphysical shop, and the teacher had asked us to pick a crystal out of a bowl as she passed it around the class. And so I just happened to pick this one crystal. And so she said, you know, I want you to sit with that crystal, hold it in your hand, and, you know, just meditate on it a little bit and let us know later what you're feeling. And so as I put the crystal into my hand, I immediately started feeling nauseous. I actually felt like I might throw up. And so I was like, okay, well, this is not good. So I put the crystal back on the table. And, you know, I was like, I don't know what's going on. This is really weird. I don't know what's happening. And so as we went around and talked about the crystals and our experiences, I told the teacher that I was feeling nauseous as soon as I picked up this crystal. And she said, you know, red jasper is actually a very grounding stone. And so she said, you know, probably being in a crystal shop, being around all the crystals, you know, you probably became a little bit ungrounded, and then as you picked up a very extremely grounding stone, the drop in being from a very ungrounded to grounded was probably a bit much for your system, and so that's why I ended up feeling a little nauseous. Now, my point in telling this story is not to make you think that crystals make you feel nauseous. It's just an indication to let you know just how powerful they can be. And I do have a tendency to get ungrounded, and so I intuitively had picked out this crystal to try to help stabilize me. It was just that it was a little bit too much going from such a high vibrational ungrounded state to such a lower vibrating grounding crystal like this. And so the next crystal I want to talk about is moldavite. If you're new to the crystal world, once you get into crystals, you will start researching and understanding that moldavite is one that you think you just have to have. So I will let you be a warning to you. This is a very powerful crystal, and it's a stone of transformation. It really makes you look at your life and kind of creates an upheaval in your life. So just be forewarned when you buy one of these. But moldavite is an unusual crystal. It's a tektite. It's formed from a meteorite, and they're only found in Czechoslovakia. And, you know, of course, once I found out about it being such a powerful crystal, I had to go get one. And so when I was in Sedona, I went and got a moldavite ring. And so I decided to wear it into work one day. So I was wearing it into work. I was out in the parking garage. As soon as I got into work, I just started crying. And again, when I talked about being aware of what's going on in your world, there had been nothing that had happened that would make me go, oh yeah, I feel emotionally distraught. And then I continued to wear it and go into the office, and I also continued crying in the office. So I was sitting here going, okay, what's going on? I normally am pretty in control of my emotions. I don't understand what's happening here. And then I started to click, wait a minute, I'm wearing this moldavite ring. So I immediately took off the moldavite and I put it in my purse and I moved it far away from me. And I was okay. But moldavite is actually a heart chakra crystal, and so it will help you release emotions that you may not be aware that you're holding on to. So it was actually doing its job, which was, you know, kind of helping me process emotions that I probably, you know, buried down. But it's just one of those crystals that you know, you have to understand that it's powerful. And some people, even when they touch it, they kind of get a vibration, buzzy feeling, or, you know, even, you know, heart palpitation. So it's a very strong, powerful crystal.